Here we go. Ashley Mata. What's the motto with me? What's the motto with you?
Oh my goodness.
What?
He's already such a dad. It's
I'm
ridiculous.
sorry. Ashley Mata says, question. I started distancing myself from church friends as when I started hanging out with them outside of church. One day, one of them blasted on vulgar music. What should I do? So I'm guessing that you started hanging out with them outside of church, realized, oh man, like this person from church blasting vulgar music.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting topic right there. I will just say this, and we're going to kick things off. It almost no longer surprises me when I see Christians that know every word to
Right.
raunchy songs. It saddens me. It saddens my heart, if I'm being real, but it no longer surprises me. I don't know what the disconnect is. You guys write in, help me out here. As the P&M fam, you guys, we got a lot of, early 20-year-olds, late teens, late 20s. What's
30s.
30? What's going on here? Because I can relate. I'm hanging out with Christian people that I love, that I'm confident they love the Lord, and then suddenly they turn on a song or a song comes on and they know every word to it, and it's like a raunchy secular song.
Mm-hmm.
What am I missing?
Yeah, I think we've just come to a place in our world where, believer or not, well, I don't know, specifically believers just seem to take things so
So much
lightheartedly
grace.
and are like, God just doesn't care. He doesn't care what music I listen to. God doesn't care what movies I'm watching. God doesn't care this. And it's like, okay, maybe, but he does care about your heart, and what is within your heart comes out of your mouth. And when you're singing this trashy, raunchy, sex filled, curse filled songs, like, God is paying attention to that, and he does care about that, and he's saddened by that. And sadly, people are just like, so just, no, it's fine. Like, I can do whatever I want. God doesn't care. Like, oh, it's just a song. Who cares? It's not affecting me.
I feel like holiness, sadly, is not really emphasized in most churches.
Yeah.
And I think of a mega church, a local mega church I used to go to, and the crowd literally was so into secular music, and they were going to like a Drake concert when he was coming to UK, and I was like, I like you guys, but you're so worldly.
I mean, we have churches that literally play secular music in their church services.
You guys are so worldly. I mean, maybe it sounds a little bit judgmental. I'm spitting facts. You guys look so much like the world.
Yeah, it's not to say that you can't listen to secular music, but I think that there does need to be a filter that those songs go through. And, like, I was listening while I was working out today to some of Joshua Bassett's songs that he's put out, and I'm like, these are good. They're fine. Like, they're clean, whatever. They're good and whatever, but
We're talking about raunchy songs
yeah.
because there is a place. Again, it's walking the line. Occasionally, I'll listen to secular music and I'll enjoy some of the songs.
Yeah.
But once it enters into the raunchy category, and that's what I'm talking about, Christians knowing these type of lyrics, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So what should she do, Morgan?
Um
She's seeing that these church friends,
I would
what? Yeah.
I would say that if you're friends, like, ask them, like, hey, what makes you feel like totally fine about playing songs like this or knowing songs like this? Just start up a conversation and just see where they're at and go from there. And if you feel like they don't care about holiness, they don't see this as like a part of the holiness, then take a step back and find some other friends.
I also think, to be a little bit more gracious in a sense, sadly, just the American church, there's so many baby Christians that should not be baby Christians, but they are.
Mm.
And so they're going to these churches. Holiness isn't really a priority. They're saved, but baby Christians. So they're very, like, their maturing process is happening very slowly. Doesn't mean they're not Christians. Doesn't mean we shouldn't try to pour out to them and encourage them. And so you're going to have to figure that out if you can truly be a light to them and maybe they're receptive to you, or if, well, I'm actually getting pulled down to be more worldly when I'm around them.
Yeah.
Let's see what y'all are saying. Preach, Morgan. I 100% agree. What you listen to reflects your beliefs. Ashley says, I'm 21, but I feel like people my age have become more laid back. And
Definitely.
I was just shocked by the music this person was playing and was sitting there just wanting to jump out. Let's see here.
I think there's too like a lot of pride in every generation, but like, you know, you see it more in your generation and like the generation behind you, but there's just pride in everyone and this idea of like songs aren't gonna mess with my walk with God. Movies, TV shows, why would I need to pay attention to what I'm watching? Like, that doesn't faze me at all. I can sit down and watch a sex scene and it doesn't bother me. It's like there's just this deep pride in us that comes before a fall, and it's sad.
Morgan, let me ask you this. This is an interesting topic that I think a lot of us can relate to. You, because we had a comment that was kind of, I'm not sure. Yeah, a comment that was kind of pushing back on one of our recent videos and was like, guys, well, what about Morgan? Look at the music that she was doing when you met Paul.
Yeah.
Or just in general, like when you were right before you met me, this was 6.5 years ago, you were pretty into secular music.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it like for you? What was your faith walk like in that time? Because I would say you might have been more in the category of her friend.
Yeah. First of all, if I could have those videos taken down, I would, but I can't. But second, I think that I was exactly in the place that I just explained of pride, of being like, you, like hearing someone say, oh, I don't listen to secular music, or oh, I don't watch certain shows. I'm like, oh, you must be weak in your faith. Like, that doesn't affect me.
Wow.
And I'm literally over here living in sin, in sexual sin, in all kinds of sin.
Wow.
Ew, babe, that was so gross.
Sorry.
But yeah, so I was so prideful. I had no like humility in those areas, and pride became before the fall, people, and I fell flat on my face and was even falling during that time, like before meeting Paul and stuff. Like, I was falling, I was living in deep depression, I was sick all the time because of all the sin I was living in. Like, yeah, so I don't know.
One more question about this topic, and then we'll move on to the next question. What about just like, again, I'm not trying to be this like, we're all figuring it out. I do have grace. And I'm not coming down super hard. But what about like our friends maybe right now that do love the Lord, but we flip on a secular song, a raunchy song even, and they know every word? What do we do with that? I'm genuinely like trying to sort through this.
I don't know what we do with it. I think grace definitely is involved with like, we're all in different places for sure, and we can be a light where we can be a light and an example, and we can challenge and encourage where we can. But
is it because some things do fall into the category of, this might be a really big deal, but this isn't that big of a deal. Would we maybe put this in more of this is not that big of a deal, that someone knows lots of these lyrics?
Well, I feel like I'm thinking of a specific time. I feel like we're thinking at the same time.
Maybe. Perhaps.
Where we were in a car.
We don't need to get into all that.
Whatever, but music was being played, and like everyone in the car except me and Paul knew like all the lyrics to these songs, and like we were just kind of like,
It was awkward. It was. I mean, it was a party type. It was a celebration. We were all hanging out, and I'm having a good time, and then suddenly, like, they're rapping all these songs, and I'm like, kind of like what you said, the person that left the comment. She's hanging out with her church friends, and suddenly they're blasting vulgar music, and she wanted to jump out of the car.
But I will say a lot of what was being played were older songs.
Okay.
So part of me wants to be like, well, they just knew these songs, from back before they were strong in the Lord.
And that could be the case.
And so now, I don't know why we're bumping them, but here we are, and they're singing along. But
some of them were,
I don't know,
little newer.
We don't have the answers.
We don't have all the answers, but I would just ask you guys, because with the amount of people watching maybe the playback, you guys might be right in that boat, and you might be thinking to yourself, this is one of those type of categories that's not that big a deal to me. Mm-hmm. We would just encourage you, really go to the Lord, go to God's word, make sure you're in God's word. Because if you're not even reading God's word, then the conviction probably is not going to come. But once you start reading God's word, reading Jesus's words, reading what the Apostle Paul wrote to the churches, encouraging, admonishing, challenging, saying flee sexual immorality. Jesus saying even, Squishy's literally laying on
Squishy, you can't lay there.
Jesus is saying, if you even look at a woman to lust after her, you've committed adultery in your heart. Paul saying, I would just constantly, like, what are you thinking on? Whatever is good and pure and holy, let no unwholesome talk come out of your mouth. All of these things. I don't even really know where I was going with that, but
alrighty then.
I would just ask that you would humbly allow yourself to question your lifestyle choices and the way you're practically living.
Yeah.
But on that note, you guys, comment below, those of you maybe watching the playback, let us know your thoughts on this, because I am genuinely open to hearing other perspectives.